Hello and welcome to Podtoid. We are your host. I am CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 407. Welcome back, everyone. It is great to have us all here once again for a brand new episode of Podtoid.
I haven't been on an episode of this show in about 14 months, I think. And I apologize. I apologize for my absence. I've been busy starting a business. It's not working out though, so I've decided to come back.
And what was your failed business?
I guess I'm not sure if I should talk about it on the air, but basically, if you imagine you live in inner city New York and you've got a problem, but you can't go to the police. So say you've been blackmailed or your daughter's been kidnapped, then I've put an ad in the paper and it says simply, got a problem, odds against you, call the equalizer. And
okay, I thought you were going to sell bathwater.
I thought you were doing a Ghostbusters skit or something.
No. Much more realistic. You ring that number, and I basically use my Black Ops abilities and my contacts from my time in the SAS, and I take care of that problem for you. No questions asked.
You see, the problem with that plan is that you're advertising in a newspaper. So you're only going to get like 90-year-old clients calling you about probably a black guy across the street who they need you to take care of.
Well, you see, I kind of came up with the idea based on somebody else's plan from 1987. And I think back then the newspapers were bigger. And the secondary issue that's kind of running this business into the ground is because I'm a bit of a bleeding heart liberal, I'm not charging anyone for this service.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's...
Yeah, and if I have a look, I'm down about $52,000.
Yeah. Were you hoping for like private investment or something from a potential person you saved?
Well, I saw someone do it on TV and it didn't seem to be a problem for them.
Oh.
But like in reality, it actually costs a shitload of money to be like a private vigilante.
Yeah.
Yeah, even private vigilantes need accountants, I guess.
Well, it's $20 a day just to run the ad. So I guess I've got to go back to writing about video games. But, you know, it's either that or start like a GoFundMe.
There's always bathwater.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I don't think anyone wants to buy Chris's bathwater.
And,
that's upsetting.
Well...
And following Chris's plan, I am in the process of writing a gay pornographic film based on Jake and the Fat Man. And I'm about 35 pages in, and so far the Fat Man is not having a good time.
I would say that it is probably 34 pages too long to be a gay porn script.
Well, it's art, CJ. How dare you?
Well, I'm so sorry your business ventures did not work out for you, Chris, but I'm glad you're back writing about games because, as you know, it's the most fulfilling profession you could possibly have. There's nothing better than sharing your opinion about games on the internet. But
nobody's doing it. So
no, yeah, it's a niche. But it's great to have all you back. You know, I was at Tennocon last week. Just for that Warframe. It was a great little show, although London, Ontario, Canada is hot as balls. Just awful, humid, sticky, god-awful up there. The show was great, but thank God the convention center had air conditioning. Chris and Charlotte, I know that you guys are getting a heat wave. Is it still ridiculously hot in your respective necks of the woods?
Oh, no, it's not heat wave anymore. It's like 19, 18 degrees and raining. I've had to wear a coat today, so.
All right, real quick, Charlotte, for the rest of the world that doesn't use Celsius, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, that's literally the rest of the world uses Celsius.
No, but I'm an American, so the rest of the world is me, so shut the fuck up.
That'd be like 70, 60 for you.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was going to ask, because 19 degrees here is cuddle weather.
It was 39 here yesterday, so.
And that's what, 115?
Basically, yeah, around that ballpark.
All right.
What about you, Chris? Is it still ridiculously hot? Did this cut into your business at all?
It's It's not as well, no, because my business is based only for New York clients, and that's also part of the problem because I can't actually get over to New York to solve anything.
No,
the bottom of it fell out 1 week after placing the advert. But last week it was way hotter than it is now. But I'm really fucking hot right now, like in this room, because I've got like the curtains closed and everything to keep the sound from bouncing all over the place. And if I go quiet like halfway through the show, you might want to check in on me, like in case I've just like evaporated.
I have some Remington Steel DVDs you can borrow if you want.
Nice. It's quite hot, but the last couple of weeks when I was away, I got burned a little bit because it was that sunny over here. Which, like, burning temperature over here is probably for you guys like winter. Do you know what I mean?
Probably, yeah. But I mean, especially where I am now.
Right, in the out in the country, right?
Yeah. I mean, I came back from hot as balls Canada and then went to Death Valley where it was 116 degrees on Thursday. So, but I took a picture of a donkey, so it was worth it.
Come to Death Valley, take a photo of a donkey.
Yes. A male donkey, as I was so vividly pointed out by the person who I was with. That is not a picture I enjoy, but apparently it's a picture I still took. Anyways, before we get into games...
He had like a big donkey dick?
Yes, he had a big donkey dick is what I was getting at. So I was alluding to that this donkey was hung like a horse, I guess. Didn't see any wild horses, unfortunately. But apparently they're out there in Death Valley with all the death and desert and nothing else.
There's a lot of stories buried out there in Death Valley.
You know, there were plenty of great places that I was shown that I could dump a dead body because they're just remote. No one's going to go out there because it's always, north of 100 degrees. And when it's not just a ridiculously hot, dry heat, it's monsoon season. So it's a ridiculously hot, wet heat. And if I had to work down in that yard, I'd kill myself. Anyways, before we get into games, we have a lot to talk about today. I want to start out with a story about how people and dogs are actually pretty gross. So we're going to go to Colorado, where veterinarian Dr. Scott Dolino has been seeing some strange cases come into his clinic as of late. According to Dolino, he is seeing anywhere between 3 to 10 dogs a week brought in that are high on THC. As many of you know, Colorado was one of the first states to legalize marijuana for all uses, so it's not hard to believe that people can be feeding their dogs tainted foods as a joke to see what would happen. I was in a fraternity, and I know that is something that we would absolutely have done had we had a dog, because we had plenty of weed up where I was. Anyways, Dolino says that is actually not what is happening. Instead, he says that dogs are getting high all by themselves in the various parks and forests in the area by eating THC-laced human feces. His theory is that human shit has enough of the drug in it that it can get a dog high when it eats our shit. And as you know, dogs will eat basically anything. First of all, the idea that a dog will eat shit when the opportunity rises makes me never want to have one lick my face again. But second, what the fuck is wrong with Coloradans who are just shitting all over the woods and not like burying it or putting it in a plastic baggie? What is up with these people? Why do they think that's appropriate?
Are they filming it?
God, I hope not.
I feel like they are. Colorado's weird. I've never been, but I get a vibe.
It's like I've been away for like 2 or 3 weeks and I come back and the first time CJ takes the mic, it's like, here's a story about shit.
Not just shit. THC and lace shit.
Pot shit. Mary Jane shit. Yeah, this is just gross, and it definitely makes you not want to go do some of that marijuana tourism in Colorado that they're so big on now. According to the Dolino, there is not much a vet can do for dogs when they get high. Owners will just have to write it out with them. And if experience with people getting high is any indication, that dog will want a lot of Totina pizza rolls. Like, that is the thing that'll get a dog through being high.
And also, he'll be a crushing bore to be around as well. Right? He'll repeatedly tell you the same story that he thinks is fascinating. And you'll be like, yeah, you heard that one a few minutes ago.
So you've been around. You've been around people who are high as well.
At least it's not as bad as when they're drunk and they want to like hug you or like have like a real deep conversation and you just met them. Ecstasy was the worst though. Like, don't fucking touch me. But the nice thing is when you jab someone really hard with a pinwheel on ecstasy, it doesn't hurt them. They just kind of giggle, so you just can do it a lot. And then they wonder why their arms sore the next day, but they don't remember.
Do you think a dog that is high will try and start a conversation with its tail instead of chasing it?
I think it considers its tail on a whole new level.
Begins to appreciate it.
All right. That was one shitty story to start out the show, but let's go ahead and start talking about games. And Chris, because you've been gone for 14 months, failing your business. Let's go ahead and start with you. What have you been playing this week?
I finally got around to playing the remake of Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, which was made by Lizard Cube and Dotemu and came out, was it last year or the year before? It might even be 2 years ago now.
I think it was last year.
Okay, if I'd made notes like a professional, I'd be able to tell you. But as a friend said when I was discussing it with him, as he's playing it as well, it's a gift of a game. Like, it's very popular now to take these old games and be like, we'll dress this up and we'll change the mechanics and we'll redesign it to make it look like something from Cartoon Network and we'll rake in the dollars. And that's happening a lot, and it's happening on a major scale with like big release games, and it's happening on a smaller scale. For me, the difference here with The Dragon's Trap is the heart and the passion and the love for the game comes through beyond any concept of like I've thought of a way to get the nostalgia bucks coming in. So much work has gone into making it a beautiful, gorgeous game with an incredible like re-recorded soundtrack and delightful hand-drawn animation. But at the same time, underneath all that, the game is almost mechanically frame perfect. Like, if you had muscle memory from 1989, you can take that straight into the remake and it will all work. You can even take your Master System passwords and they still work in the game, like within the game's password system. It's completely authentic to what the original title was. Obviously, the original was one of the few like true classics that the Sega Master System had. But it's been dressed up in this really lavish way with stunning backgrounds, great character design, beautiful animation. If I'd reviewed this game, I'm pretty sure I would have given it a 10. I can't remember what it actually got. I think it was Chris who reviewed it. But it goes beyond just being here's a game you might remember and we've remade it for your generation. It looks awesome. It's one of the best looking games I've seen in years. It plays delightfully. It's really slight, so it's not like it takes up a lot of your time. You could literally finish it in a couple of hours if you remember the game well. But they've also put a couple of like hidden areas in there to kind of give it a little bit more life. And it's got this wonderful gallery, and it's even got like video footage of like the musicians performing for the game. At any point you can switch between the old graphics and the old music, and you find yourself walking into every room and switching back to the old version to see what it looked like, and then switching to the new version. Then you take about 5 steps and the bad guy walks in, and you switch back to the old version to see what the bad guy looked like. So you have to kind of commit yourself to sticking with the modern version, or you just find yourself switching back between the two versions constantly. But it's fucking gorgeous, and it's a breath of fresh air in this whole like society of like, you remember this? We've kind of touched it up a bit, and here it is, and it's $50. Like, it really feels like it's been something that's been done with care and with passion. And whether you've played the old version or not played the old version, like, I think it's like it's usually in Steam sales or various sales for less than $20. You should just like go out and check it out, because it won't take up too much of your time, and you'll just be fucking delighted by how it looks, if nothing else. And it's still kind of challenging. I kind of forgot how tricky some of the jumps are and some of the boss battles in there. But yeah, I played that over the course of 2 days, like 100%ed it, and it's probably the most joy I've got out of a video game since like the year started, to be honest.
Nice. Just looking up on our website, it was Kevin McCluskey who reviewed it, and he gave it an 8.5.
Well, he was He was off by 1.5 or 2.5. I don't do the numbers too good, but no, it's cool. I'm glad that he liked it too. It's delightful, and in this world of kind of like, Battletoads is coming back, and then you look at the video and you're like, yee. Like, it's nice to see, and these guys are now going on to make that Streets of Rage 4, and that looks fucking gorgeous as well. But again, it looks absolutely stunning, but you can see in the movement and the speed that beneath the way they've made it look, they've perfectly captured exactly how it used to feel. They seem to be the masters of making these look like some of the best games that have come out in ages, like really attractive visuals and great sound, but still just like it plays exactly how you remember it. I hope they make like fucking 90 more games. Do you know what I mean? And they're all just like sequels and remakes, but done with like this level of care and passion. Like, yeah, it's great. You should go out and play it.
Now, I remember when that came, or when that was announced, it was around the same time they also announced that Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, which was a follow-up to the Wonder Boy series. And for the longest time, I kept confusing both of those titles.
Right. I haven't actually played the Monster Boy game yet. But no, they were pretty close together, weren't they? I guess logically that makes sense from a marketing standpoint to kind of get those games out within proximity to each other.
All right. Charlotte, you are, I see, punishing yourself by playing Detroit Become Human. Why would you do that?
I mean, I thought I was punishing myself when I started, but I actually think it's not that bad. I think so far, I think I'm pretty close to finishing it, actually, so I can probably just say outright. I think it's probably the best David Cage game that I've played, but that's not saying a lot, really. So what I think of David Cage games in general is that a lot of them are really, really bad. Well, two of them are really bad. I think Fahrenheit, Indigo Prophecy, and Beyond Two Souls are pretty bad games, but they're kind of entertaining at least the first time you play through them, even though they are bad. I think Heavy Rain was a little bit better, but still had a lot of problems, but still entertaining, and actually I could replay that. I can imagine myself replaying Detroit to find all the different options that I missed. It's still got a lot of David Cageisms in it. Like, it's very heavy-handed in the plot and this is borrowed from Watch Dogs and this is borrowed from Max Payne. And, it seems very referential. But it feels like somebody behind the scenes has sort of been tapping David Cage on the shoulder and saying, tone it down a little bit. It's more of like, the problem is, I think when Heavy Rain came out, maybe not, but the idea of telling cinematic stories in a game wasn't quite there yet. And now we've had so many good games that have beat Quantic Dream at beat them at their own game, so to speak, such as I think Until Dawn was a lot better than anything that David Cage had managed to make up to that point. So it's not enough just to be, they're managing to tell a cinematic story. It has to be a good cinematic story. And I think it's sort of there, but not quite with Detroit. It's entertaining enough, but I don't know if I'd say it's a brilliant game. Probably panning out to be a 6 or a 7 out of 10, I'd say.
The thing with David Cage is every game he makes is a little bit better than the last. And there's consistency there that I can appreciate, even if they don't always succeed. I'll tell you that I miss Indigo Prophecy because that third act was so fucking insane from the rest of the game. I was so happy because I was playing a completely different game and I loved every second of it.
I have to disagree, though. I think Beyond Two Souls was worse than Heavy Rain because
that's fair. That's fair.
Like the whole where she was suddenly on a reservation and it was never explained properly why she was there, and then suddenly she had to choose between two love interests, and one of them was her CIA operative boss who was mean to her, and then somehow they ended up going on a dinner date, and then the other one is this guy on a reservation who she sort of helped the family with spooky things. Absolute
Charlotte,
nonsense.
Charlotte, I just assume as a woman you've been in that exact same scenario.
Oh, yeah, several times. Yeah.
I think the thing a friend of mine once said about David Cage games, this was back in the Heavy Rain days, was that they're basically like poor films. They're not great films that, because they're put into the realms of video games, they seem like better films because they're judged against other games, and a lot of other games might not have as cinematic ways of telling stories. But the thing that he said that always rang true with me is, even if you watch a shitty film that's like on at 11 at night and it's straight to video, when you get down to kind of the final act, you generally are still down to like, I hope Frank Stallone's going to make it out of this one or whatever. So it's almost like even if the stories in those games aren't great, as long as you kind of commit past the first act, you do generally find yourself going, oh, I do kind of want to know what happens to these characters at the end. But ironically, agreeing with you, I think the only time when that example doesn't work is Beyond Two Souls, which I think is like a terrible, like a really boring story with bad characters and bad scenes. But I've got to admit, I started Heavy Rain and I was so cynical, and I was doing stuff. I was like breaking the game on purpose. Like, you're supposed to set the table carefully, and I was on purpose setting the table badly just to kind of piss everybody off in the scene. Yeah. But by the time we got to like that last couple of hours, I was kind of like, I wonder if he's going to get his son back. Yeah, I kind of did want to know how it was going to end. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on, because you kind of know, don't you, that behind all this pomp and circumstance, you're essentially kind of going through a very basic gameplay experience.
Yeah, by far the best bit of Heavy Rain is not even really the core part of the gameplay, but instead that video that's on YouTube where somebody glitched out the final scene, and it's Ethan just keeps yelling, Sean, Sean. That's like the best content I've ever seen from Heavy Rain. So
I like the sex scene was really good. Because it looked like somebody took two cadavers and like hooked up a bunch of car batteries and like puppet strings to them and just fired it all off and made them kind of rub each other like Barbie dolls. That's great.
Dan, let's go ahead and move on to you. You are once again back on that Red Dead Redemption Online kick.
Oh, yeah. I jumped right back into that after E3 because I wanted to get the Impulse episode like out and done and over with before any other major like updates came out, because it's been kind of a dry season over at Rockstar, I guess, in terms of updates. And we released the episode yesterday. Well, Saturday, as of this recording, I should say. And yeah, I don't recommend it. It's the first time we've just blatantly were like, yeah, don't play this because it's not worth the time right now. And a lot of that just boils down to, it feels, if I have a hunch, I think Red Dead Online began development super, super late into Red Dead Redemption 2's development, because there's really no interesting content there past maybe the co-op story missions. Unless you really like the bizarre PvP that is just hard lock. I don't know how many of you have actually played Rockstar games, but all of them don't have a free aim option. They kind of have this weird lock-on thing for their games, and that's the PvP mode in this. There's no free aim option, so it's more or less boils down to who can tap L2 and R2 the quickest, and it's infuriating. And it's just not interesting either, because all the maps for PvP are just like random locations from the open world. So it's like, here's a PvP zone that's just, I don't know, a ranch. Have fun. But yeah, in terms of that, it's not great. I don't recommend it. I got all the trophies, though. That's what's important. So I don't ever have to play the online for a good long while ever again.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Occams, have you been playing anything this week?
I played Final Fantasy XIV for a few minutes. So, guys, I've been busy. I've got a lot going on, and I work hard all day. I get home. I go to the gymnasium. I do gymnasium stuff. I get back. I'm trying to sell some stuff online, being an accomplished businessman. So I haven't had a lot of time to play video games. But let me tell you about something I have done recently, and that's watch The Crow Wicked Prayer. This is the fourth Crow movie. Came out in 2005.
Is that the Eddie Furlong one?
I knew you'd know it, Chris. I knew you would. I rented this when it came out, by the way, in 2005, but I watched it again recently. If you haven't seen it, which I guess no one has except Chris and I.
I turned it off.
Yeah, no, I finished it. I finished it hard and long, and that's a weird euphemism for some reason. All right, it is Eddie Furlong, and like Fat Eddie Furlong, which is just unfortunate, as the Crow versus Tara Reid and David Boreanaz as satanic cultists led by what's his? Hold on, I just had the name. The Dennis Hopper. That's it. It is an insane movie. It is a bad movie. It's a hilarious movie. So, in lieu of talking about Final Fantasy 14, everyone hunt down a copy of Crow Wicked Prayer. If nothing else, just watch a trailer online. It's brilliant. It's sad, but it's really fun. It's sort of like, you ever seen those videos like where a kitten is like, we found this kitten and its legs don't work. It's like that, but a movie.
You had me at Tara Reid.
Yeah. Oh, and it is that like lifeless, Tara Reid now, I suppose, but just that thing where she just kind of stares unblinking for about 10 seconds, then delivers her line. Oh, it's perfect.
That's what Tara Reid calls acting.
But isn't The Crow that film? My film knowledge is pretty lacking, but where Bruce Lee's son died filming it?
Yes.
He was shot and killed, yeah.
So, like, they thought to revive it to the extent that there is a fourth one?
Yeah.
Film industry's sick, man.
It's like a thing where the crow, which is what brings you the spirit that brings you back to life for revenge, almost like the Littlest Hobo, it like in each film it moves on to a different person who needs revenge. So they can just be like, oh, that was that guy who was the crow. This is a different guy who's the crow.
Yeah. There was also a Crow TV series. You're welcome, Charlotte.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Down a rabbit hole
Crow
now.
knowledge for the day.
Bad news is they're making a new one, and it's just starred the dude that played Aquaman.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
So I got one great like trivia fact about the Crow. The guy who wrote the comics, whose name escapes me right now because it's based
James
on
O'Barr.
Thank you. He took the idea and the shooting script into like a studio, and he was like, okay, it's about this guy Eric Draven, and he's a rock star, and him and his girlfriend are killed the night before they get married on Halloween, and then Eric comes back from the dead a year later to avenge the deaths of him and his wife, his fiance, and he takes out all these like gangbangers who are going around the city setting fire to things, and he gave it to the studios and he explained this to them. And the studio heads thought about it. I can't remember which studio it was because it went through several studios. But one of the studio's heads went, what about if if it was a musical, not like an action film? And what about if Eric Draven was played by Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
I'd watch the hell out of that.
I feel like this is how we got Repo the Genetic Opera.
I guess.
That's amazing. I didn't know that, and that makes me really happy. Wow.
Oh,
He's been such a good crow.
At that point, he was already pale enough to be the crow without any makeup. So
very true, very, very true. Although, for the folks listening out there who are really into the '90s music right now, the original, the first Crow movie soundtrack is still a classic for some just really fucking good songs. A really great Cure song called "Burn." The Stone Temple Pilots song, which I can't remember the name of right now, is really good. My Life with a Thrill Kill Cult, who make a cameo in the movie. One of my favorite band names ever.
All right, so I guess I will not. Now, will I be lost if I have not seen the second or third Crow? Because Lord knows I have not seen the second or third Crow.
No, fuck no. Although the second Crow movie, it's Crowcast, guys. Let's talk about this shit. The second Crow movie has a really fun role by Iggy Pop. It's good.
And let's keep it going. They made a video game of the second movie on the Saturn and the PlayStation.
Oh, you son of a bitch! They did. That game was hot fucking garbage too. I remember renting it.
You're listening to Podtoid, everybody.
Hell yeah.
All right, I guess we can move on to. I guess I'm left. What review from this week would you guys rather I defend on the podcast? My Dragon Quest Builders 2 review or my Super Mario Maker 2 review?
I guess Super Mario Maker 2. Who was mad about that? What?
Read the comments.
Yeah, no, everyone, nobody liked how I did how I reviewed that. So,
okay,
Dragon Quest Builders, it's a fun game. It improves a lot on the original in terms of how you play. It's just a lot of the big things that they added to the game, I don't think really added much to the formula. And also there's plotting issues and pacing issues that, kind of keep it from being the fun, enjoyable romp that the first one was. That's why I kind of gave it the 7.5. I wish I'd written that review a little bit better, but I was extremely busy this week. So let's go ahead and move on to Super Mario Maker 2. The level creator in Super Mario Maker 2 is, without a doubt, the best creator toolkit I've ever used in a game. You know, from all the different level and game creating toolkits, it's simply Tina Turner. It's simply the best. Even though it's just a slight variation or modification of the one that was in Super Mario Maker, it is absolutely outstanding. And I knew that it was going to be. They hit it out of the park the first time, with exception to all of the different weird timers that they put in place that you can unlock everything for a certain amount of days unless you did a trick. Like, everything's available from the get-go here, and it works perfect. It is ideal. It is as close to as what I'd want as possible. I still wish there were more costume options from the different Mario games, but it's okay. I can live without the frog costume. That was the first half of my review. And the second half of my review was kind of focusing on what do you do when you don't play? And there are a lot of options, or I'm sorry, what do you do when you're not building? There are a lot of options of what you can do. And it's all based around user-created content. Outside of the story mode, which is really fun and has one level that I think I died about 15 times playing because it was kind of devilish, but it's all based around user-created content. And my big gripe here is I know that Nintendo cannot force people who buy Super Mario Maker 2 to be good level designers. I know that's an impossibility because this game is going to sell 10 million copies and you're not going to get 10 million expert level designers. But what I want is more options from Nintendo on how we can weed out what are obviously either bad level designers or like unintentionally bad or just kind of trollishly bad level designers. Because I have played in the endless mode where you just get a new level after new level, and it's based on either easy, normal, expert, or super expert, which is all depending on whether people have beat these levels or not. Just some of the most troll-tastic levels I've played between this and the original Super Mario Maker. The types of levels where you have 18 seconds, there's a hidden block with a key that you need to get, and the level is sizable that you're going to have to run through it about 15, 20 times or more unless you give up. And you do have the option to skip. That is a good option. But basically, these modes, the endless mode, and then kind of if you go play the hot levels or levels that are hot right now, I guess, or new levels, we're just QA testers for this game. We're QA testers for these levels, and we just we're having to go through so much garbage to find the gems. And even when you find a gem, there's no guarantee that this one is going to shoot straight to the top of the popular levels list, because they have different lists of levels, and one of them is popular levels. And you look at those, and they're almost like levels that are designed not to be played but to be seen. Something that would look good on YouTube or TikTok or Twitch. It's the kind of level where it either plays itself. I think one of the top ones from this past week has just been built around slopes, which is kind of it's a cleverly designed level, but it's not something that I enjoy playing. And I think for me, that is the biggest problem that Mario Maker had with the first one, and it's continuing to have with the second one, is that there are a lot of amazing creations that people are doing with this game that aren't necessarily fun to play. I include any and all automatic levels in that because I saw enough of those last time around. I don't need to see a single one this time around. There are just so many levels. I wish Nintendo had more options on ways that we can more curate the experience of when we do this endless mode or when we do the multiplayer modes, which don't really work because the netcode is so bad that there's so much fucking lag that makes it not worth playing. That it would be a little more amicable experience for everyone. Like, you have the multiplayer modes, but the multiplayer modes could feature levels that aren't really designed for multiplayer, even though there's a tag you can attach to your level that says multiplayer level. Like, it would be nice if those were the only ones in there. It would be nice if Nintendo, which we know has more money than God, could hire 20 people whose sole job it is to play levels that people design and mark them, hey, this one's Nintendo approved. This one's going to go into the endless mode more often than, some random level that you get that someone spent 12 seconds making. I've played levels in this mode that have no likes. They've been played by 4 people. And it's just like, why is this the one that's being presented to me? And this is going to be a problem with any and all games that are built around user created content is that, unless there are ways to curate this content, you're not always going to have a pleasant experience. And that is why I gave the game the score it got. This half of the game is a crapshoot. Even if the multiplayer worked well, if it didn't have the problems that it has, which is ridiculous that it does because we have to pay for multiplayer now, there is no guarantee that you're going to have, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of enjoyable level experience, because you may just be stuck with something that someone thought would be funny to do to people, of, putting pits in there that if you fall into and you try and jump out, it's just nothing but coin blocks. So you have to quit the level and start over again. It's fucking frustrating. And I get why people did not agree that I should do that. But because it is half of the game, I just felt the need to take a more critical look at it and to hopefully do an adequate job pointing out the failings of Nintendo in curating this content to really highlight not just levels that people find popular because they're showy, because they're, a roller coaster that plays Legend of Zelda music in the background, but because they're well-built levels. That's what I think was needed here. It's not there, and I just can't trust the player-created level experience at this time. I love making levels. It is my favorite thing to do. I don't necessarily enjoy playing this game, though.
CJ, have you tried Dreams for a PlayStation?
No.
Asked and answered. It's
I know what it is.
No, I wasn't going to explain what it was. I was going to say that if you get the opportunity, I think you would enjoy it. I'm still not entirely sure how to make stuff in it because it looks a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But the variety of experiences I've been able to find, and the user curated stuff where people can upvote it, and it's like, say you can type in metadata tags essentially that say, horror, the shooter, RPG, whatever, and the stuff that pops up, really, really surprisingly in-depth and fun. And I'm very impressed by what a guy or a gal at home made just sitting on the couch one day.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a difference of experience between something like Dreams and Super Mario Maker. And it all comes down to ease of use. Making a game in Dreams, I haven't traded yet, but I imagine it's something that's going to be difficult because you can literally shape each and every piece of that game to your liking, from characters to gameplay to rule sets to gravity, everything. Whereas Super Mario Maker is made for the masses. It's made to be able to be played by anyone and everyone. So obviously you're going to have a greater selection of levels because you're going to have so many more millions of people playing this game versus something like Dreams or Chicken Wiggle or any of these other games that are kind of built around getting more content from users. So I imagine that Dreams will be have a better playing experience. I probably will enjoy playing games on that one more than I do making games because, like I said, it seems more complicated, and I love the simplicity of Super Mario Maker. But I also think that I would apply the same standards to that game that I did to this game, in that if almost all of the content is going to be created by users, then we need to look at what job the developer is doing to curate and to showcase and highlight the best games that are being created in Dreams so that people can play them. I shouldn't have to keep looking on Twitch and Reddit and Nintendo's Twitter feed to find these little gems of levels. There should be ways in the game that these are highlighted and I can go right to them all the time. And it just sucks because, like I said, the level creation tool is so fucking good that the quality of the levels just doesn't match it. It's like if you were to send 2 million people to Juilliard, I think that's a music school, Juilliard Music School, to teach them every instrument they could possibly know, and then 80% of those people decide to leave Juilliard and go release a Toby Keith album. That is what you're getting with a lot of these levels. You're getting the Toby Keith album of Mario levels.
Timely.
Thank you. There's a lot of country radio down here, and one of his songs came on, and it was something, I don't know, he said something about a wave coming over the southern border. I'm like, oh, I'm turning this shit off.
Yeah, he was the one that after 9/11 was like, the song was like, I'm gonna put a boot in your ass, or some bullshit.
Yeah, put a boot in your ass. It's the American way.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Exactly.
That's
I feel
my
like
Super
Little
Mario
Big
Maker
Planet
tangent.
sorted that stuff out ages ago in terms of highlighting really good levels and having just those highlighted levels be really easy to access and stuff like that. Because I remember like not having any issue finding the real good shit in Little Big Planet 1 and 2.
Well,
Yeah, Media Molecule are on that.
Yeah, they're on point with that stuff.
I mean, you can find good shit in Super Mario Maker 2, but it's all just it's all located in the popular courses section. Like so you go to the course world and you have hot courses, popular courses, and new courses, and then you can search based on some of the different criteria that people put in. And so you have the popular courses, but it's not like it's consistently updating with new ones. I mean, you can search popular course the day of the week of I think all time, but generally it's from what I've seen so far, it's just all time and of the week. It's the same 10 courses at the top. Yeah. And once I play those, first of all, I don't like all of them. Some of them, like I said, are just musical tracks. But some of them are good, but as soon as I play them once, I kind of don't want to play them again. I will say one music level that I thoroughly did enjoy that I thought was really well done it's a music level that is based off, uses music from, I think, the Great Gourmet Race from Kirby. And instead of being one that you're just automatically tugged along in the level until you reach the end and as the music plays, you actually have to run and jump in time to the music in order to succeed. Very well done, very creative. It's the best level I've played so far. And there have been other good ones. There's a Metroid level that's amazing. There is a There's a Mario Kart level that I played that was extremely fun. But the problem is that it's going to be so rare for me to interact with one of those levels in the endless mode or in the multiplayer modes that I'm not gonna walk away from playing those modes as excited as I am just finding those levels in that one single list. So, God, I hope I made this better. I probably made it worse.
That's a fair review in my opinion. Fair points.
You are listening to Podtoid.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on because I've lost my voice, which is good because I have to keep talking. That is it for games, but we have some headlines to cover. It is time for the news. And it has been a very busy week with big news coming from across the industry. The biggest story of the week was also the worst kept secret in gaming as Nintendo announced the new Nintendo Switch Lite. This portable-only version of the Switch hardware is launching this September for $199. It will not hook up to a television set, will not feature removable Joy-Con controllers, and will only be able to play games that are playable in handheld or tabletop mode, which is thankfully most games. The Nintendo Switch Lite will feature a 5.5-inch screen and a battery that lasts between 3 to 7 hours depending on the settings and the game you are playing. For instance, Breath of the Wild will last only around 4 hours before you need to charge the system. Obviously, this is going to be huge from now through March of next year when we get games like Pokemon Sword and Shield and Animal Crossing New Horizons. I have a Switch. I know not everyone here on the podcast does, so I want to know if you haven't bought one yet, will the Switch Lite get you to make the jump? And Charlotte, I want to start with you.
Well, I've pre-ordered one already.
Okay, that answers that question.
Yeah. So I pre-ordered the turquoise one. There is a little bit of there is still a European premium on this because it actually works out as $260 in Europe if you take the euro amount and convert it back into dollars, which just seems a little bit unfair, but it's still, I've spent 250 euros on a home console before. That's kind of okay for me. So I was a little bit annoyed by that, but actually I'm really excited because my idea of having a Switch is that it's going to be an extension of my 3DS. So it's going to be the next one along from my 3DS. So I really do not care about playing it docked. So perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So I've pre-ordered it.
It's something like I like the Switch. I like the idea of it. I know that eventually I'm going to get one. I was kind of waiting for this. I remember reading another news article talking about how they were going to use upgraded parts for it, which is also kind of something I was waiting for. I'm about to sell my old 3DS because I don't ever play it anymore. I usually just take it on trips with me. It's a good plane or a car device for me. I don't really play it at home. This is exactly what I want from the Switch. I don't really care if it can go to the TV or not. But if I can have this really nice, like play the Zelda game or any of the other Bayonetta 3 eventually, all that fun stuff. Yeah, 100%. I don't know if I'm going to get it right out the gates. It's just not something I know I need in my life right now. But this is like just one step closer to eventually buying it because this is exactly what I was waiting for.
It's not really for me. It's not something I'm particularly interested in. In terms of making me pick up a Switch, it's more than likely going to make me like find someone who's buying one who's like, oh, I don't really give a shit about my old Switch anymore, and me say, well, I'll give you £100 and you can sell it to me for that then, because I doubt very much it's going to lower the value of the original Switch, at least its resale value here in this country, because Nintendo stuff never seems to drop in its value until like the generation moves on. So I'm not interested in getting a Switch Lite at all, frankly, but I've been pushing myself to buy a Switch for absolutely months now, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. But maybe there'll be more on the market. Or I know people who own them who might buy a Lite and be like, actually, I'm not really bothered about the docked one anymore. I don't know, because obviously they might still want both the options, but it's not really a product that affects my decision to get one or not get one. I do like that there's another thing on the market there. A friend of mine who's been waiting for this for a while was like, I wanted the other way, because he was kind of hoping that it'd be a non-handheld version that was TV only, which had like a controller with it and stuff, and you didn't have to kind of dock or whatever, and you just plugged directly into the thing. And he kind of almost wanted the opposite of like a portable only version, which kind of made me laugh. But there's another product on the market there, and I'm sure they'll rake the dollars in come Christmas.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Our second story of the week is the saga of Belle Delphine, a.k.a. the gamer bathwater girl. Delphine made international news when she announced she would be selling her bathwater on the internet for around $30 a bottle, and supposedly it sold out within 2 days. I've been having trouble believing any of this story is real, but apparently it very much is. The story was meant to be something of a souvenir, not for people to drink or bathe in themselves. But after the sale went viral, there was a bunch of hoaxes around it. Someone reported that Delphine has herpes and caused a herpes outbreak with the water, as opposed to as opposed to the usual way that a herpes outbreak starts, by sleeping with Alex Rodriguez. Another viral tweet claimed the water had no human DNA in it and thus was not bathwater. Meaning that she could be sued for, I guess, false advertising. But the problem with that tweet is that it was posted before she had even shipped any of the water out. So that's apparently not true. I'm still in the boat that in the end, all of this will end up being a hoax, because that's what she does. Delphine's entire career seems to be built around trolling thirsty guys on the internet. Famously, she posted an Instagram picture and said that if it reached 1 million likes, she would create a Pornhub account. When it reached that number, she was true to her word. She did create a Pornhub account and then proceeded to fill her channel with non-pornographic videos that had suggestive names. Dan, I know you've been thirsty to talk about this story, so you better have some good anecdotes.
Yeah, no, it's something. I'm looking forward to like just going on YouTube and typing in like the fucking unboxing videos for the water, if that actually does ship. I hope it's a hoax. I hope she put just a sold out tag on there before anything was sold. But at the same time, I doubt it. She probably made thousands. And I don't know. If I was in the same boat, I'd be doing the same thing. I don't know.
You know, it's people get upset when folks say like LOL white people, but like y'all, this is some prime fucking apex white people shit right here.
A whole bunch of stuff's come off the side of this. I'm not trying to fucking bring everything down with the cold, harsh grayness of reality.
No, you're British, that's what you do.
Well, it's just like, it's really interesting because either she didn't send it or she did send it, but people are already like, yeah, I've got mine, and they made videos of themselves drinking it, or someone made ramen with it and stuff.
Oh, no. I didn't know about that. What's going on?
There's still, like, all of these people might not have got any. Like all of these people, like every person might have spun off this girl's viral idea into their own viral video, even though they don't have the water. And it leads to one guy who vaped it, and he got interviewed. Like he was like, "I'm vaping the water," and he got interviewed, and he said something that really stuck with me about the whole thing. And it's a real bigger picture kind of comment here. And he said, I didn't really have the water and I wasn't really vaping the water, but he said it gave him a brilliant lesson on how eagerly people will accept any lie as long as they think they're being entertained.
Absolutely.
And in the bigger picture, that's kind of depressing. It's like you can bullshit, but as long as someone like wants to click like or share it or retweet it, it doesn't matter what you say or whether what you're saying is true or what you're showing is true or not. And I think that's kind of a really kind of sad indictment in a world where we're kind of, I'm fucking, you know, Mr. Blanket, first name Wet. I'm bringing everything down here. But when he said that, it was just something that really clicked in my mind. Just this idea of like, it might be a joke, but if everyone's just out there, like bullshitting everybody else on everything, and this isn't about Delphine, this is about anybody. As long as they're like, fuck, I'll get so many followers, even though what I'm saying or showing isn't true, then we can't even believe the evidence of our own eyes anymore.
Right.
And that goes fucking higher than just like gamers nerding out. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sorry to get all fucking like heavy and political about it, but it is really interesting that it's like I could tomorrow make a video pretending I'm doing something with her water when I didn't even like kind of know it was on sale or whatever, and I might go viral because of it. And then I've got that fucking platform, and from that platform I can just say and do whatever the fuck I want, and it doesn't even have to be true, and everyone will fucking lap it up. And that's kind of like, I just think that's kind of fucking gloomy. In a way, I kind of like her hustle. Like, I like that she's like, oh, if this is legit, that she's like, I figured out a way that I can make money. And there's something kind of amusing about that. But I think what Dan was saying, or what you were saying, CJ, about that's it, the fake Pornhub account, is some people got really mad about that. Did you guys read about this?
Oh, yeah.
Like, some people were like, you've broken hearts. People were like, one person was like, we need to take away your cred as a gamer, and you need to start putting up the fucking videos you promised because you've really upset your fan base here. And I was just like, how can you write that and not see yourself in the mirror? Do you know what I mean? And not see what you're complaining about. So I feel really weird about it because she's basically, I appreciate the work. Like, I appreciate the gimmick and the work and kind of the comedy of it. But also, it's just, it inspires more bullshit on the internet. And there's so much bullshit on the internet at the moment that it's barely worth going on the internet, if you know what I mean. And with stuff like this bathwater thing, it doesn't matter so much. It's kind of, it's a jerky joke, and maybe it's true and maybe it's not, blah, blah, blah. But when stuff happens like you had that person eating the ice cream in the supermarket, assuming that that video was real, and that wasn't just like they bought the ice cream and then put it in the freezer and made it look like they hadn't bought it. You don't know, because we can only believe what we see. That started a trend of people fucking with food in supermarkets, which is a waste of fucking food and is a felony. And it's like, we can't fucking waste food. We can't fucking waste food, but fuck it. You got those fucking clicks. Well done. Do you know what I mean?
Looking at the bathwater thing, my first thought, and I think of anyone who's a connoisseur of bathwater, is, okay, so buying a bathwater, was she on her period? That's my first thought. That's what I want to know.
You know, when I saw that this was on the itinerary for today, I was like, Occams is going to make a period joke.
Of course. 100%. Charlotte, I hear you in the background, and I appreciate that revulsion. I really do.
I'm in pain.
Yeah, no, you should be. No, it's a horrible existence inside the skull. But y'all, everyone's right. And I really respect the hustle, too. If it's all bullshit from her, fucking have fun. Just garbage monsters. People getting upset this person they don't know or have any sort of emotional connection to on anyone, and either end is like, you post your Pornhub. Like, go fuck yourself. Get a life.
Right. Yeah. It's a very fucking weird story because whether we find out whether it's true or not, or whether she made any money or not, right now there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are trying to come up with their own versions of that shtick. There's going to be people out there like, right, I'm going to do something that's selling something else that's or whatever, and maybe mine will be real, or maybe mine won't be real because they don't fucking know whether the whole thing's real or not. So there's a thing about the satire of it all that I really appreciate. There's something almost Chris Morris-esque about the idea of like what's real and what's not real here, if you know what I mean. But it's a very 2019 story.
It's an episode of Black Mirror, is what it is.
Right. And there's part of me that just wonders. And I can't help but think, like, I always think it sounds like a dunce saying that I'm wondering, as opposed to I know, but that she's just like, I can't fucking believe everyone's talking about this. All these fucking idiots. Like, she takes the wig off and she's like, fucking lol, fucking selling my own bathwater, lol. Do you know what I mean? And then she looks at people talking about, because she's not talking about it, is she? People like ask her to respond, news sites do, and she won't talk back to them. And I can't help but think that she's like down at the bar with her friends and they're like, how did that bathwater thing go? And she's like, can you fucking believe it? Do you know what I mean? Like, she's probably got the fucking joke over on everybody. I'm not necessarily saying what she's doing is some fantastic performance art or anything like that, but I can't help but feel that, she's got other videos, right, where she's like eating raw eggs, and one where she's got like a dead octopus and she's put googly eyes on it. She fucking knows what she's doing. Like, she's taking the piss and people are lapping it up and taking away her gamer girl cred or whatever it was they said they were going to do. Like, so
that's great. That's maybe the least threatening thing you could do to a human being.
Oh no.
The thing that's been interesting for me is seeing the different reactions from women who play games Twitter in Germany and women who play games Twitter in US and the UK, because Germany can be a little bit second wave feminism sometimes. I had a conversation with somebody this week, and the feminists in Germany are very keen on telling people what to do, which for me as a feminist not from Germany is very strange sometimes. So the feminists in the German, like the second wave feminists in the German gaming scene were saying, oh, this is terrible, she's making a bad name for everybody, and everybody else is just like, yeah, respect the hustle, man. Respect the hustle.
Yeah, it's a really divisive, isn't it? Because there are other people who are like, why is everyone talking about this girl instead of talking about women who are out there curing cancer, or women who are out there excelling in all these different areas, but instead, like, everyone knows who like Belle Delphine is now, and I kind of see that side to it too. But you could go down so many roads, couldn't you, with this conversation? You can look at it, you can talk about the satire of it, you can talk about what it says about society, what it says about the internet, what it says about video gamers, the media, including us, for still talking about it like a couple of weeks after the fact or whatever. It's to say that it's a girl in like comedy Japanese clothing saying she's selling bathwater. It's amazing what a fucking window it is on the zeitgeist of today. And I don't know whether that makes us the worst generation or just one of the most interesting.
Nah, I don't think it's the worst. I mean, every generation says that their predecessors were antiquated and they're, but it's this is nothing new. Magicians and the talkies and shit like that, films did that back in the day. People, it's just, to me, it's nothing. It's just a different form. It reaches a much wider audience with the internet. But this whole like, can you believe what you're seeing? That's nothing new.
Yeah, this is, like you said, every generation generally has their own like what the fuck product is that. Our generation, we have gamer girl bathwater. Last generation had that singing fish that you hung on your wall.
Billy Big Mouth Bass.
There you go, Billy Big Mouth Bass. Before that was the pet rock. You know, this was a rock that you paid money to buy in a store because it came in a little cardboard house. And before that, you know, was polio. So we've all had our really weird products that we'd buy and sell. And this is just an extension of that. And it, like you said, it's just getting the recognition that it is because we are in the age of the internet. And for some reason, Gamer Girl is still a hot topic of discussion when it is just the most normal fucking thing imaginable.
Right.
Yeah, so that's exactly it.
I mean, I just want to see if Gamer Girl bathwater adds anything to ramen noodles, honestly.
I mean, good ramen water is about building depth of flavor, so it's a good marinade.
Mm-hmm. There's a new mommy element there.
Yeah. For sure.
Does anyone know whether the bathwater had like did it have like fucking, you know,
soap,
shower gel in it or
anything? I went down the road of watching the ad campaign for this. There was no soap or anything like that. She just kind of sat in a tub.
Okay.
It's embarrassing enough I have to confirm
and then drained the tub and went onto her computer and clicked sold out and was like, that was fucking funny.
All right, that is it for the news. Now it is time for the Podtoid question of the week.
Hey kids, want to drive through that cactus patch?
Sorry, that is not the Podtoid question of the week. This week's question has to do with Tennocon. Last week we didn't have a show because I was traveling back from Canada where I was covering the event. Having only gone to E3 and EGLX before it, it was interesting to see an entire convention dedicated to a single game, and I wanted to know from all of you if there was a game or a franchise that you adore so much you would attend a one-day convention dedicated to it. Occams, let's go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, a couple, but I'll keep it brief. I think we probably all have a handful. It'd be, for me, Shadow Hearts, easily, and Rule of Rose. Although I think Rule of Rose would probably be like one of those Chris Hansen sit down at the table things. But just I had two games, Shadow Hearts is a series, but two video game things that I adore for very different reasons. But I would love to go a day long celebration of those games.
Dan, what about you?
I was gonna make a joke one, but I'll stick with Red Dead, I guess. Go to just basically a fucking Western cowboy fair or something. There you go. Listen to some guy talk about his tuberculosis or whatever for 20 minutes. And be like, yeah, this is great.
I bet you can find somewhere where you can do that anyway.
Basically, yeah. And I'll just pretend it's a Red Dead Redemption convention.
Just go dressed as John Marston and just be like, I'm turning it into a Red Dead Redemption fair.
Exactly.
And this place is country strong. That's what you can tell it.
Hell yeah.
Oh, shit.
I guess my joke answer would be a Sonic the Hedgehog convention. Just to witness the Crush 40 and the smell.
Could you imagine the Sonic fans? Just 3,000 Sonic chews coming at you.
I hate to see a buzzkill. But I really don't, to be honest, I don't really like the idea of going to a convention just for a day, just devoted to one whole game. I'm not sure there's anything, even my favorite games, I'm not sure I like them enough to go spend time with fans. Ugh. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be those really awful PS2 backyard wrestling games because you just
fuck yeah.
do backyard wrestling with juggalos.
Charlotte, go to the gathering of the juggalos and you will have that experience.
And as we know, no one will be able to spot you there because apparently word is that if you wear juggalo makeup, you can't be picked up by facial recognition software.
That's true.
I read that.
That's so great.
This is how the resistance is formed.
See, it's little moments like that that tell me God's real, and it has an amazing sense of humor.
Chris,
I don't know. I tell you what I'll say. I'll say that I'd go to a one-day convention for Dragon Ninja or Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, depending on what territory you're from, because that game's 30 years old today. So I found out a way to just crowbar it into the podcast. The funniest part is I actually don't like the game. I think it's rubbish, but it's 30 years old today. Congratulations. There hasn't been a game that has had a narrative to match up to President Ronnie has been kidnapped by the ninjas.
Well, first of all, Dan, I want to thank you for not saying Altered Beast, because I just assumed that's where you're going to go.
I was thinking about it, but then it would just be a bit where I'm like, it's just me by myself. And I don't know.
But I'm kind of in the same boat as Charlotte, in that there's not really a game that I would travel a great distance or even a close distance for if it's a single game convention, even if it's just for one day. There are stuff I like Legend of Zelda, Mario Kart would be fun. But if it's a single game or a single franchise, it's going to have to be something really wacky for me to get into it. And so that's why I'm going to say the Senran Kagura franchise, if the convention is held at the Playboy Mansion.
And because of all the games in that series, you could have so many different. You could have a cooking section.
Yeah,
yeah. You could have like a fighting bit and a pinball bit now. Yeah,
yeah,
so a pinball part and all the other games in that series and the rest, whatever they are.
They could have an entire panel dedicated to the one body type that they have in that game that they just put different wigs and eyes on.
I saw this compilation of videos where it was just women kicking each other in the groin.
I like to imagine that's what it would actually be.
And I feel like whenever I think whatever that title of that series is, Singura Kakaran or whatever, that's all I think of. It's the only thing I think of.
Oh, all right. That is it for our show. Before we go, Occams, do we have a community shout out this week?
We do, actually. In honor of Shadowbringers and Final Fantasy XIV, I want to give a shout out to one of our community mods, Pixie. She has played many more hours of Final Fantasy XIV than I have. See, I have one character, my ninja, that I just work on. I think that's like level 70 and my main person. I think she has like all of them. Like all the classes and all the gathering thing. No, I can't do that. I'm trying, but it's difficult. But she's trying to put together a guild, which is not what they're called in Final Fantasy, but I solo player, so I forget what they're called, and is trying to gather people together and answered a bunch of questions of the community for different things, and always it's really well informed and just knows her shit about the game. So if you have any questions about Final Fantasy 14 and want to get into it, Pixie's your gal. And so shout out to her for being so helpful, kind of a community envoy for the series.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I know she is wonderful to talk about that game with, which I will be doing this week as I had finally picked it up and will start playing it.
Her characters are always really stylish. Like I really appreciate it because we always get to see pictures of them, don't we? And I always really appreciate the hats and the capes and there's a lot of great looks going on.
Definitely.
Every time a new expansion comes out, they put out an art book to accompany it. And it's not just like, this is the art of the game, but it shows like in weapons and all monsters, blah, what you'd expect. But then it shows like every like cooking utensil, every decoration they make, because you can buy houses in the game, everything. The level of detail and commitment in that design Bible is just fucking amazing. It's one of my favorite series of art books to buy because it's how you do it right. Because they're always like 200, 300 plus pages too.
Just a quick note, Occam, sorry, no Warframe art book just yet.
The dream continues. Hope springs eternal.
All right. On behalf of Dan, Chris, Charlotte, Occams, and myself, thank you for listening to Podtoid. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, and also to our YouTube channel.